Hope you enjoyed your lunch, and this kicks off the final section of today. If it ever, yeah. And I'd like to invite Natalia Jaramillo to the stage. Please, welcome, Natalia.
All right. So raise your hand if you know in which business you're in. You know, right? In which business you're in, sir? Yes. Customer-centric business? Okay. What about at the back, center table? In which business are you? Don't worry. Sorry? Customer centricity? Okay. What about here? Sir, in which business are you? Yes? CX training. Okay, and if we continue asking, probably some people will be in the travel business or in the technology business or in software or in different types of industries that we like to mention, right? So let's deep dive a little bit on this concept, and especially since we have our neighbors here talking a lot about technology, I think a lot of conversations right now are centering on this topic. A lot of things are happening around technology, and we want to talk about which technology, how we're going to implement it, when we're going to implement it, how we're going to do it, and this is part of basically all our business nowadays. But how much are we talking about people with technology? And I think it's been so refreshing to be here today, because today we have been seeing how a lot of businesses are, and how the conversation is also shifting to, where is the people in here? And talking about the person as an important entity in the equation. And it's so great to see, because I attend a lot of CX conferences everywhere, and every time the conversation is about tech. And to be here today talking about culture, talking about people, talking about humans, I think it's the right way to go. I am not saying technology is not great. Technology is incredible. And in luxury, which is what we're going to be talking about today, technology is very important, but mostly on the back, not at the front. Why? Because technology is there to support our business, not to drive it, because we're in luxury. Technology is not there to change or replace people. In fact, it's there to enhance it. So there are a lot of elements that technology help us with, but it's not the entire actual thing. And we're going to keep diving around this question, so if which business are we really, really in? So I will keep asking and going back to this. So I've been working in luxury for 15 years. I've been very lucky to work with Cartier, with Rolex, with Audemars Piguet, Richard Mille, Patek Philippe, a lot of watches and jewelry brands, with Jumeirah Hotels, Burj Al Arab, Emirates Palace, and really iconic hotel properties. And it's been a wild, wild journey of experience, of course. I've learned a lot of things, and I could write probably an encyclopedia of key learnings I had during my luxury experience in the past 15 years, and I'm going to be sharing today a lot of those. There are things that can help us to perhaps conceive our business, not in such a complex matter, but sometimes small things have huge impact, and this is what actually luxury teaches us. Other thing that luxury teaches us is that when you're in your businesses, what is a great satisfaction score for you? Most businesses, 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5, and you're already thinking, wow, 8.5, I would dream to have a satisfaction score of 8.5. In luxury, expectation is 9.5. So our scores are at 9.5. Something that luxury does is that we're not happy with 9.5. We're thinking, why is not 9.6? Why is not 9.7? So we're not sitting on 9.5, clapping and congratulating everybody for it. We are thinking, why are we not driving 1.6? What is missing? What is pending? We know it's not going to be 100, but we know it can be 9.6. And this is a mindset that luxury carries, which is incredible for business performance, because it's that continuous drive for perfection, that continuous drive for making things every time better. Another thing that luxury does, which is great, is that they understand really well in which business they're in. When I started in luxury, I was never told, okay, you're here to do check-in or check-out, or you're here to sell this or sell that. I was never told that. They told me, you're here to create magic. That's your job. You are here to do something that people are not used to. Because nobody goes to a luxury experience to experience what they experience at home or in their daily lives. So you're here to actually, even if it's for 5 minutes, take that person into a whole new world. Change their life for a whole new world. Change your mindset. Transform those 5 minutes. And that's your job. So driving it down into your businesses, if you think about it, okay, you sell products, you sell services, you sell this, you do that, that's great. But my question is, why are you here? Like, what are you for your customers? You are not just there a company to provide a product or a service. Why is their life better? Because you exist. Why is their business better? Because you exist. And that's your business. That's your actual business. And when you start thinking on those terms, your mindset changes, your behavior changes, your strategy changes, your conversations change. Everything changes when you know in which business you're in. Because it changes the way you perceive also what you do. And all of a sudden, maybe it's not only about selling, it's about how you're selling. It's not only about the numbers that you're driving. It's about how are you driving them and what numbers are you really driving. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that, because when we're talking about service excellence, there is a huge difference between luxury and other type of businesses. In luxury, we talk about that service excellence is about creating transformation, right? Not just satisfaction. It's a thought that we are not working to sell you one time. We're working so that we are together and we're selling and we are in your life so that you can come back and build that loyalty 100 million of times. So our objective is not to sell. Our objective is that you come back. And that changes the dynamic of the interaction. Because if I only sell, okay, I'm happy you went. Thanks for buying. Thank you very much, and you go. But if my intention is that you come back, now I need to change my strategy in the moment. Because now I need to do a lot of extra things to be able to inspire your return. And that is one of a different change in that mindset. So we're talking about personalization, emotional impact. We're talking about symbolic value, sometimes that resonance they have with your brand. When we're talking normal industries or other industries, we are talking about that service excellence is usually probably things related to speed, to efficiency, to problem solving, removing friction, reducing complaints, and of course, that is all very important. But we are asking questions like, did it work? Was it fast enough? When in luxury, we ask questions that, how did that make you feel? How did you feel when you were here? It's a very different type of question. And sometimes you feel like, yeah, but I cannot ask that to my customer in a B2B setting. Why not? Who is buying your product? A robot? No. People. People are buying your product. In your meetings, you're meeting people. People buy if they like you. And in luxury, we know that if you're happy, you'll spend more money. But this is not only in luxury. Nobody upset spends money. Nobody wants to spend money when they don't like you, when they are upset about something, when there's something that is making them uneasy. People spend a lot of money when they're happy, when they like you, when they trust you. And this is what luxury looks for, that trust, that connection, those emotions, because that's what drives spend. When we're talking about excellence and actually great customer experience, we want to focus on 3 pillars, and they have been shared today in a lot of the conversations. It's culture, experience design, and the actual experience, which is your operation. All right? It's not one without the other. Culture, by far the most difficult one to achieve. So we don't like to focus on that one. We want to focus on the experience, which is the last, okay, which is the, okay, with technology, can we put there, sometimes if we're even better in CX, we do design. So we design our journeys, we make them spectacular, fine. You can design a really beautiful journey, beautiful. But if you don't have the right culture, you cannot implement the journey successfully, 100%. So it is not one without the other. You need the three elements to have very successful CX implementation and service in your business. So we're going to talk about each. You know this data because you've been attending a lot of conferences just like I have. So of course, we know that highly engaged employees, of course, achieve 21 to 23% higher profits, and there's a lot of different studies done on this. You can have even better data. We know this. It's not something new that I'm going to share. But the point is, we know it, yet we don't do it. And that's the actual question, is why? If we know the data is there, the studies are there, case studies are there, research is there, everything is there to tell us that. Yet we're still like, oh, culture? I'm not sure I really want to change myself so much. So what culture are we unconsciously cultivating? And I think this is a question that I would like to ask you. Because if you're not designing and fostering your culture intentionally, you are destroying it unintentionally. And it's not something that you are deciding, oh, I'm going to destroy the culture of my company. Of course not. Nobody does that. But you are, if you are not doing it intentionally the other way. I'll give you two examples. I can give you also an encyclopedia of examples of how we destroy our culture unintentionally. I'll give you one. Nobody wants to be caught saying, oh, we don't care about our guests, we don't care about our customers. Of course, nobody says that. Everybody says we do care about our customers. But really, what are you talking about in your meetings in the morning? Where is the conversation of the customer on those meetings? Because all the meetings I've attended in the morning with the CEO and the C-suite and all the leaders of the organization are everything but the customer. We're talking about sales, we're talking about the metrics of yesterday, we're talking about the technology we're going to be implementing, we're talking about many things. Not once we're talking about the complaints, what the customer like, dislike, not once. We are implementing a lot of things without hearing the voice of the customer. I really love what Alex said, that they were shifting the way they were looking at data, because they were not looking at data at the top, but the data was running from down to up. And that's the right way to go, because it's down where the data is. A lot of people take decisions at the top completely oblivious of the reality of the business. You invest money, you invest resources, you invest everything on things that maybe will not even have the right impact, or maybe are not fixing the right problems. So that is one way of killing your culture, because you are talking about customer experience, customer centricity, that we love our guests, we love our clients. Yes, but every day you're nurturing a different focus in your team. So you cannot expect your team to be customer-centric when you don't drive customer centricity in your speech, in your organizational priorities. A second way of killing your culture is very common in the operation. Let's say I am a manager, okay, in the middle. This is the horrible position in every organization. They are the ones that are most ignored, but they are the ones that drive the most your results. They're often forgotten. Anyhow, the manager goes to the morning meeting with their boss, okay, with the CEO, the GM, or whoever. And then they're talking there, and the CEO gives a direction. The manager already doesn't like the direction, but he's not maybe strong enough, or maybe the culture is not open enough for him to voice out his concerns. So he says, yes, okay, I'll do it. When he comes down to his team, he will not say, oh, you know what happened today, this, that. He will probably say something like, guys, okay, the CEO said this. I know. It's not great. But, anyway, we cannot do anything about it. So let's do it. What do you think is going to be the result? When your boss is already giving you permission not to like it. When your boss is already giving you permission to not do it because you already know that he doesn't care. So where is that organization going? In which direction? If the person in the middle doesn't buy it, and he also doesn't want to be the bad cop. So he loses the respect of the team, he loses the respect of the boss, and he just caught in the middle, doesn't know what to do, but he wants to be friendly with the staff. So this is a way of destroying your culture too. And like that, there are a million examples. I can really give you like an encyclopedia, as I said. Because unconsciously, you are every day with small actions destroying your own culture. So that's why it requires a very intentional thought. I'm not going to overcomplicate the cultural topic, and I think I cannot do a better job than our colleague in the previous session, which was incredible about the research on culture. But there are a few things that drive culture, which is a clear strategy and a vision, really, what is your business beyond like all the techie part or all the very businessy language. Really, who are you? Who are you? Who are you for your clients? Who are you for your guests? At the end of this session, I'm going to be sharing with you a guide of questions that you can take back to your organizations to do a little bit of an assessment internally with your team and ask yourself several questions to really have a little bit of a mirror for a while. Leadership, of course. We think the culture is down, so we train the staff at the front line and we think magic is going to happen, and we in the office are still status quo. You can't do that because you are the one driving the business. So obviously, your impact and your role is to support them and from the top to be coherent all the time in the messaging. There was a great example here about that case of the gas station, that the guy went and took an initiative to do something great, and all of a sudden the boss is like, why did you do that? But that happens in a lot of organizations in other ways. We tell them, oh, we want you to surprise the clients, make all the guests feel happy, really do it. And then when they do it, we're like, oh, no, why are you doing that? It doesn't matter, leave it like that, just come here. You destroy the culture only on that. So your leadership is just to be connected and aligned all the time throughout the organization. It's shaping those behaviors. You know, our values are like in the website. Our values are like, oh, no, we had to do it because it sounds nice to say we have values. No, your values are your driven behaviors. They are what determines what you do and how you do it every day. And it's not something that you should put on a paper at the back. It's something that actually drives your business. So focusing on what are the behaviors that you're instilling there every day is actually very important. What are you rewarding? You are what you measure. And as much as you like customer centricity, are you measuring those things? Because you can be customer centric, but if you're only measuring sales, you're not customer centric. How are you customer centric if you're not measuring those elements? And at the end, what you measure is what you talk about. It will drive your decision-making, your strategy, your focus, your budget, everything. So few things we can learn from luxury about culture. Daily alignment. A lot of people at work in companies, go to work without meeting their boss in 1 week. They just go, sit down from home on their desk, work, go home. Next day, come back, sit down on their desk, work, go home. This is impossible and inconceivable in luxury. In luxury, not a single person starts to work without having a group meeting, a team meeting. And that meeting is the most important driver of success. I have implemented this concept of hospitality in a lot of other types of businesses, and only that single change in meeting your team every single day to align in what we are looking at, what are we here for, what is our mission today, how are we going to make this spectacular for our guests, information, alignment, everybody's talking the same language. It changes sales. It changes what you care about. But we think this is so silly and we don't have time for it. What a meeting with the staff. It changes your business. It changes your culture. That consistent effort and input. Other thing that luxury does is obsession with training. I have not been in any other industry that trains as much as luxury hospitality, for example. It is every day you're training, like every day. Like the morning meeting is a training session. On the day coaching, you're seeing a colleague doing something, you go, you coach. It's like you are all the time coaching. There is nothing you will pass like, I leave it. He can be like, oh, no. You're all the time actually giving feedback, input, making sure everybody's constantly aligning. I've been to companies, they have not trained their staff once. Like it was trained by the colleague. Like they sat together and they trained like that. Guys, as in, this is the absolute recipe for failure in an organizational landscape. Training is fundamental. And training soft skills as well. We train a lot of hard skills, which is obviously very important. But soft skills are very important because people talk to people all the time and they have no idea how to do that. They don't know how to handle objections. They don't know how to handle complaints. They don't know how to handle difficult situations. They don't know how to talk to people that are above their pay grade, kind of a thing. And this is a problem in your business, in any business, in sales. So teaching soft skills is fundamental here. Measure what truly matters, because you also need to measure emotions. You need to measure loyalty. You need to measure emotions. You need to measure other elements beyond sales. And look, I am not here telling you not to measure your sales. But the thing is that your sales it's a metric that will measure on its own. By you focusing on other things, those drivers will follow. But by you focusing on those drivers, these other things don't follow. It's the actual other way around. I want people to focus on my guests and their satisfaction. I focus on that, and that drives sales. But if I focus on sales, that doesn't mean I'll drive satisfaction. So it doesn't work both ways. Empowerment is something that luxury does really well, because you will rarely see a person in luxury saying, let me check with my boss. No. People in luxury are empowered to take decisions, empowered to handle situations, empowered to fix situations, fix problems. In our businesses, we have such a rigid structure that our staff cannot take a single decision without checking with their boss. This is the recipe for very, very hard problem resolution success. Customer recovery. Very difficult to recover a customer when the team is not empowered to take a single decision. And talking about Ritz-Carlton, you know they have a budget of $2,000 for people to use at their discretion to fix problems. I'm not saying you need to have a budget of $2,000, but the problem is that you don't even have a structure of problem resolution. You are not even teaching your employees to think and take decisions on their own. I once worked with a bank, and look what happened here. Every time the customer, because even luxury, we work with banking because they have the private banking section, the ultra-high net worth individuals from the bank. And every time they're coming to negotiate a little rate, interest rate, 1% here, 1% there, the staff cannot take this decision of the bank, the relationship manager, so they were escalating this to the top. Every time I checked, okay, out of all the escalations, what is the approval rate? 95%. So you are approving every single request. So why do they need to ask you? Teach them how you're taking those decisions. And they will only raise the 5% request. They don't need to raise all the requests. There were hundreds of emails sent daily asking for approvals of things that were always get approved. So why are we actually making it even harder on our staff? So empowerment is fundamental here, as well as designing the employee experience. You being in CX, I'm sure you already do that, but if you're not, then no point of doing customer experience design if you're not designing your employee experience as well. Now let's talk about a little bit of design. So 40% of satisfied customers don't return. This is not a typo. Actually, 40% of satisfied customers don't return. And we are so happy with our satisfaction scores. And even the customers are happy they're not coming back. Why are they not coming back if they're happy? Because just simply doing your job is not enough. It's a transaction that you are selling something, they're paying you, is even transaction. Okay, tomorrow somebody offers a slightly better rate, you lose. Because you didn't build relationship, trust, connection. So you doing your job correct is not guaranteeing you a guest or a customer for life. So designing to change that is super important. So customer journey map, you know this, but I'm going to just add a few add-ons on how we can do it in a different way. Constant innovation and improvement, team inclusion in the creative process, and one-channel communication, not multi-channel, one channel. What could be the difference between multi-channel or omni-channel and one channel? Multi-channel is disconnected. We are service everywhere, not connected. Omni-channel means all the channels are kind of connected. Yes, but still, customer needs to initiate interactions on each channel. We can see that they are the same customer, but they are initiating conversations separate. One channel means one conversation. One only, regardless if it's in-person, chat, email, one conversation. And that's what we are striving for in luxury. I'm not talking about every luxury organization here. I'm talking high-performing luxury organizations here. Not every luxury company works in the right way either, okay? So, few tips here. Build your journey map and mark. Don't only mark your tasks. Mark also things like, where can we surprise? Where can we surprise our client, our guest? What emotions do we want to trigger? I think we map what emotions do we trigger. But what about mapping what emotions do you want to trigger? And not happy, neutral, sad. Other type of emotions also are there. Think about that. Think about that everything can be done better. So you designed your map, it's on the drawer. When have you calibrated that journey? Are you often checking it? Or is it just like, oh, one-time design? Oh, we already went through that work. Oh my God, it took months now to check it again. It sounds like Everest twice. Yes, it is like Everest twice, but it will get easier if you do it constantly. 3, create a monthly session where frontline teams share ideas. If you are designing your journey without your frontline staff, you're already failing. If you're designing anything in your organization without the input of your frontline staff, you are already failing. Anything, innovation, ideas, budget, anything. They know all the secrets, ins and outs, what works, what doesn't. What can go wrong here? Do you ask this question when you're building your journey? Do you take each touch point and ask yourself, what can go wrong here? Or only, oh no, everything is perfect. No, when you ask yourself, what can go wrong here, and here, and here, and here, already you build a better map, because you're already correcting what can possibly go wrong. So, and you might be also changing the order in which you do things. You might change the order in which you inform certain things to your customers. And asking yourself what can go wrong anticipates already more than 90% of your complaints. A journey alone doesn't anticipate or correct your complaints. Asking yourself what can go wrong does. You are reducing a lot of the amount of complaints by asking yourself that. That's why in luxury we don't have the same amount of complaints as in any other industry. It's because when we design, we already anticipate every possible scenario. That, yes, can we think of all the possible scenarios? No, but we are pretty much on 99%. Like when something happens that we are not prepared for is really weird. Because we have already anticipated like almost everything else. So we are prepared. And I attended a conference last year, and one person said this: automate the expected, but humanize the unexpected. I told him, I'm stealing this. This is the most incredible and genius sentence to really decide where technology goes and how far. You automate what is expected. Maybe in luxury we don't use bots that much, but if you do, maybe for, okay, what's the rate, opening timings, closing timings, things that are just easy, but everything else is a person. Everything else. Now in your business is the same. There's nothing more frustrating than when people need to complain that there is a bot. So sometimes we force the bot on the complaint, and this is where things go south, and then you lose the customers before. And lastly, we have returning customers spend 67 more than new ones. You know this already also, you know? Acquiring new customers is more expensive than nurturing your existing customers. What happens? That we love customer acquisition, marketing, and all of that, but nobody looks at the customers that are already there. How do you nurture the, oh no, they're there. No, they're not. If you're not nurturing them, they will go. Don't settle like that, that you think they're there, oh, they're stuck with me. They're not stuck with anybody. Customers are not loyal today. How to make them loyal is a strategy. And that goes, in luxury, we do it through anticipation, personalization, consistency and excellence, and recovery and loyalty. These are elements that are important. You might think that you cannot personalize in your business because it's very big. You can. There are ways in which you can personalize, and actually some technology is great for that. And even if you really think about what elements matter the most to them, you can even personalize further, surprise them. So what are things you could do? Create some service rituals, you know? Sometimes customers complain, and then you close the complaint, you think it's sorted. Most of the time when you call the customer after you think you fixed the complaint is not really that fixed. Customer is not really that happy still, even after you resolved it. That extra call shows you care. That extra call gives you extra opportunity to recover if you couldn't recover even after fixing it. Fixing a complaint doesn't mean recover. Fixing is fixing. Train for consistency is very important. Sometimes we just give the stuff and book. You learn on your own. Self-learning, learning at home. Sit and decide. I'll explain to you 2 times, and then you'll see how that goes. When the customer complains, step 1, do this. Step 2, do this. It's very hard for you to make sure that all your staff is aligned when everyone is interpreting the manuals at their own, you know, kind of free will. Oh, but I thought this meant this, and I thought, yeah, obviously, if you are asking me to learn on my own, I will think many things. And I'm from Colombia. I think my life in one way. I meet somebody from Germany. They have a very different understanding of the book. And I meet somebody from the UAE, and they have a very different understanding of the book. And then I'll talk to a Chinese, and they have a very different understanding of the book, and let alone nationalities. 39, if I meet a person who is 45 different, 50 different, 25 different, and let alone that, there are many things that can change in terms of interpretation. So that's why aligning and training for consistency is very important. What does it mean for us? What is customer satisfaction for us? What is friendliness for us? What is empathy for us? And those things, you need to explain it and train for that. And in luxury, we train a lot. Role play is like second nature. I mean, and we practice and practice and practice, and it's repetition until everybody does it. And that's why you go to a luxury hotel and everybody's, wow, the stuff. You thought that was magic? We trained hours for that, days, months to make that happen so that you feel that awe. Redesign loyalty programs, also focusing on recognition. Sometimes it's not entirely good to have loyal guests. It is as equally good as saying things like, I know you are more important than X, because you spend more money, you have been here longer, you have been an advocate for our business, you have recommended business. So that recognition is important. You know what is the highest level of frustration for a person in a business? That you don't see them. That you're like, but I'm your customer since 5 years. You don't even know. You don't even know they're your customers for 5 years. And that's how you lose them just like that, because you don't even recognize that. You don't even understand that they are seeking for that validation. Do you have like a segmentation of that in your organization? Who are your most valuable clients? If you're not, I invite you to do that. Building a simple CRM is important. You have CRMs. Question is, what is in the CRM? In luxury, we add other things to the CRM, like interests, key dates, not only your birthday, which is on your passport or your ID, but also when is your anniversary, when is your kid's graduation, when is going to be your husband's promotion, or all of these things are important. Your style preferences. Where did you go on holiday? Do you have a dog? What is the name of the dog? Oh, your kid loves golf? Great. These are not things that die in the conversation. These are part of the CRM. Our CRM has a lot of features that are very psychological features of it. So this is great to be able to personalize and understand further. Even if you're a B2B company here. You go and talk, but you're talking with a particular person from X department, marketing, or you're talking with X function, purchasing, or you're still meeting a person. If you remember that that person has children, if you remember the life of that person because they told you that last time when you met on the meeting, but no, you only want to do business. No, if you remember what you spoke about last conversation, because you wrote it down, because you don't have a project in mind, you meet so many people, you will not remember. Write it down. Write it down. And before the meeting, read back the card and say, oh, this is the person that told me that they have a dog and the dog died last time. I will make sure I ask about that this time. Or they told me that they were traveling to China. I'm going to ask about the China. All of these things help you to have better conversations and better prospect of closing. And define a service recovery toolkit. So when you are going to recover your client, what is your recovery toolkit? Oh, no, we just say no, or we just told them that our process and our procedures and no, recovery toolkit means that your staff has options of resolution. Your staff has, okay, if this client complains and you are not able to resolve it, you can escalate and do this. But these are things that are extra things you can do. And not one. Give them options, A, B, C. You call them back. We will, after you fix it, make sure you do this extra. So we make sure we go a little bit above and beyond. Let's say you go to a hotel to check in. And you went to the counter and they told you, oh, no, your room is not with a king-size bed, it's twin. And you're like, no, but it's my honeymoon. I need a king bed. Yeah, no, sorry. So you're upset, you start fighting, complaining. Finally, they say, okay, fine, we will give you a room with a king-size bed. Are you happy because they finally gave you the room with a king-size bed? Yes. But are you thrilled? No, they already destroyed your check-in. Most likely you'll go to the room upset already. Now, how do you get that way of fixing is what I'm going to do extra, and that's a toolkit. So we say, okay, you first fix the problem, but now how do you make it spectacular? Always think like that. How do you make it actually spectacular? When you're problem solving, something that we tend to do is think of what we cannot do. But our staff empowered to think, okay, I know what I cannot do, but then what can I do? And that shift in mindset helps you resolve first. Apologizing first is a problem. I always say, never apologize first. Never, ever, ever. Why are you apologizing first? Nobody wants to hear your apologies. They want to hear your actions. Say, I'll take care of it immediately. If you just change that sentence, things go in the right way. So there are few things that you can do in terms of recovering clients that will work better and will help you build loyalty and build a better situation with your clients as well. So what can you do now? Let's say if we make, okay, nice speech, thanks. What can we do now? All right? So first, don't settle. Always look inside of your culture as much as you look outside of your customers. That's the first thing. See how is it that you're building and thriving inside right now. Number 2, map with emotion. Okay, go and check one of your customer journeys, just one if at all. And check, let me start mapping what emotions I want to trigger on each of the touch points of this particular journey. Just do that for one journey. Redesign recovery. Go back and check how are you recovering your customers today. What is your complaint handling? Sit with the staff one day to hear how they fix a complaint. Go and sit with them one day with the call center or with the reception or with the customer service. See what it's like, what's happening there. How are they actually doing it? And start thinking, how can you do it a little bit better? Measure differently. So I would love to ask you to add one emotional or one loyalty metric along to your financial metrics. And self-assess. So I would love to invite you to, I will send that guide via LinkedIn. So if you send me a DM on LinkedIn, I am going to send you a paper with a lot of questions for each of these categories that you can go back to your businesses and start answering with your team. This will help you to see things that maybe you haven't asked yourself in a while. So you can do that, and I will share that guide with you, all right? So let's remember that luxury teaches us that when you put people at the center, all right, you don't just deliver services, but you create loyalty, you create trust, and value that no competitor can copy. You can fight on price. You can fight on features. There's always going to be somebody cheaper than you. There is always going to be someone faster than you. There's always going to be someone that offers a slightly better technology than you, or better software than you, or better service than you. But people are not going to move that fast for that if they have a relationship with you, if they trust you. So build also on that component. It's very hard. I remember we once asked a client why he's loyal to that particular hotel brand. And he said, because you know me here. If I will move to that hotel, I'm no one there. it's going to take a while for them to know me. So I don't want to move. And maybe that hotel was better. But they crave the recognition and the attention and that feeling of familiarity more than going to a better hotel. Well, I'm not saying better, but a great hotel as well. So anyway, I'll invite you to actually just see things from a different angle. Thank you.